right, so you made it. You just wrapped up your grand grant proposal. You researched, you labored, you probably stayed up until the midnight hour. You crafted the most compelling grant proposal in the history of humankind. Congratulations, pat yourself on the back. Wonderful, but we're not done yet. And I know you're probably thinking, what do you mean we're not done? I'm just gonna, wrap this thing up, go off and celebrate, and I'm good to go, right? Well, not yet, because I don't want you to underestimate the final steps before submitting, because how everything ultimately comes together is so important. So I want to share with you today a few things that I do before submitting that final proposal. So let's dive in. All right, so the first thing I do is I review my entire proposal to ensure that I'm adhering to the funder's formatting guidelines if provided. So, and no matter how detailed they are, ensure that you follow them to the T. So we're talking about things like, 1-inch margins. Perhaps they require original signatures on them sometimes. Multiple copies, things like that. Whatever it is, ensure you are adhering to those guidelines. Because the last thing you want is to be at a disadvantage with the funder because you didn't follow the rules, or worse, have your proposal disqualified right out the gate. You worked far too hard on this thing. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Let's adhere to the guidelines. If there are no formatting guidelines provided from the funder, now's not the time to get a little extra, right? Now's not the time to experiment with design or crazy colors, right? We want to keep everything clean and simple. Now, if there are no formatting directions provided by the funder, what I like to do is 1-inch margins, single spaced and double spaced between the paragraphs, a traditional font and font size, so Times New Roman works great, your typical 12-point font, and every page numbered. Next, always proofread. And that's so important that I'm going to say it again. Always proofread. And if you're paranoid like me, proofread that thing 4 or 5 times, and I'm not even joking. Spelling mistakes and grammatical errors can truly undermine the credibility of your proposal, because it can come off as being careless. And because the grant writing process has so many moving parts, it can be pretty easy to make a simple mistake. What I recommend is bringing in an independent reviewer. If you can get 2, that's even better, to review for spelling, grammatical errors, and review the funder's formatting guidelines against your proposal to ensure that everything is good and that you are following the rules set forth. Next, I am gathering up all of the attachments that are required by the funder. Now, this isn't something that I start at the end. In fact, I initiate this process at the very beginning, because you just never know. You may need time at the end to rework some things, or perhaps, when your partners or someone that you're collaborating with is a little bit slow to get you that letter of support back. You know what I mean? So while you initiate the process at the beginning, now's the time when I am starting to gather everything together for submission. Now, some of the typical things that a funder may require you to submit as an attachment would be things like letters of support, budgets, of course, recent tax forms, IRS determination letter, financial statements and audits, information about your board, org charts, resumes, things like that. Lastly, you want to make sure that all of your documentation is current, up to date, and relevant to the proposal that you'll be submitting. Lastly, I like to ensure that I'm already pre-registered in the system if that's what's required, and I ensure that I am submitting well before the grant deadline. Now, that may seem pretty obvious to you, but you can never predict what may arise at the last minute as you're trying to submit this thing, right? Tech issues, website issues, personal or health issues. I mean, you name it. It's probably happened to somebody. So what I like to do is start from the grant due date and then work my way backwards. So for example, if the grant is due on the 31st, then I will mark on a calendar that the submission date's going to be the 28th, for example, and then work backwards from there. So any action steps I need to take on the proposal, I'm going back from that date of the 28th to ensure that if anything, happens, if we need to rework something really quickly, if we're having tech issues, if the funder's website is having issues, whatever it may be, we have time to rectify and submit with ease. I also ensure that I receive verification that I submitted the proposal to the funder, and I make sure that I save that and file it away. So those are a few things that I do prior to submitting a proposal, and I hope you found this helpful and will incorporate some of these things into your own grant writing practice. So if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel for more grant writing content, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be made aware when the next video drops. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.